Missed the first 4 questions of that, but that's all right.
Clear the bus.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. Toss up 5. This character sees a poster reading, "Human beings are God's masterpieces and suicide is blasphemy," while visiting the Divine Light Tea House. This person finds phrases such as "the place where God does not exist" and "the place where the world ends" on a snowflake diagram in a chapter in which this character opens 40 unsent love letters and finds they all begin, "My darling, I have thought long and hard about whether I should write to tell you this," when he searches an apartment in Frankfurt. Near the book's conclusion, this character learns that Khadife is out of prison for shooting Zaim. He also learns that Ipek has remained unmarried and still believes a revolutionary named Blue was betrayed. While visiting Kars, this character... No. This character tells Ka that he's working on the Museum of Innocence. For 10 points, name this character a fictionalization of the author of Snow. Orhan Pamuk as a character in his own novels. 10 points over here, and a bonus. The artist wrote that an undulating line of the seashore and the fullness, variety, and joys of the title entity runs through the works that comprise this series. For 10 points each, name this group of paintings, which contains many depictions of the Madonna that use a border of sperm cells drawn by the artist. It also contains many paintings called Jealousy.
Yeah, so this is like, moves like,
What you got?
Empire series.
It's the Freeze of Life.
That was cool.
This iconic image, which depicts a reddish sky and subject holding onto his head as he performs the title action, is from The Freeze of Life.
Sweet.
In this other painting from The Freeze of Life, the man on the lower left cowers in fear as the woman in white in the middle places her hands on her head, her hands, okay, and gives a look of terror. One version of this painting is called After the Fall, but all 3 of them depict images believe that love is like a flame.
Okay, yeah, ashes.
Yeah, you got 20 points.
Oh, shit.
Sub 6. Composer and genre required. Johnny Reinhardt realized an unfinished example of these pieces whose underlying rhythm is based on repeated basic units of 16 seconds. A distant choir of a harp and violin plays separately from the main orchestra in the final movement of the 4th of these pieces, which is so complex that it often requires multiple conductors. One of these pieces includes a second movement comedy, which juxtaposes a quiet pilgrim's hymn with cacophonous marches and popular songs. The second one ends with an abrupt final chord, frequently compared to a raspberry or a Bronx cheer, and was premiered by Leonard Bernstein in 1951. The third one was awarded the Pulitzer Prize in 1947 and includes movements called Children's Day and Old Folks Gathering.
Lives, orchestrals.
No. For 10 points, name the set of orchestral works that include pieces nicknamed Universe and Decamped Meetings, written by the composer of the unanswered question.
5 symphonies.
Yeah. Okay, here's your bonus. For 10 points each, answer the following about gold in Norse mythology. This goddess cries tears of gold when she loses her husband Otter, which she then turns into amber. In another role, half of the warriors who die in battle go to her field of Folkvanger.
Freya. Okay.
One kenning for gold is the seed of Fyrus Wolds, since this Danish king once spread gold over the Frisilvir over the Frisilvir plain to distract Adil's troops from catching up to him.
Wolf Crocky.
That's right. Another kenning for gold was this god's fire, since he illuminated the floor of his hall, which was located beneath Hlesi, but by putting gold into it. He also fathered 9 billow maidens.
That's 9?
No, that's 8 year.
Oh, no, 8. Okay, no, bad.
Heimdall had 9 mothers.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So you get 20 points. Toss up 7. Charles Lamb stated that the murder scene in this play aroused pity and terror beyond any scene, ancient or modern. In the 25th scene of this play, its main character states that he has been unable to sleep for 10 days due to one playing continually upon a drum, and that his guards Maltravers and Gurney have been tormenting him. In that scene of this play, the executioner Lightborn taunts the title character moments before killing him. Bertolt Brecht and Leon Feuchtwanger collaborated on an adaptation of this play, which opens with the title character's lover reading a letter stating, "Share the kingdom with thy dearest friend."
Edward II. It's good buzz.
Edward II. Your bonus. The thinker who coined this term argued that capitalism attempted to reject this condition, resulting in the double movement, where liberal forces try to free up labor markets but are automatically countered by social forces. For 10 points each, name this term, originally used by Karl Polanyi to describe how economics cannot be separated from the societies in which they exist. What you got?
Incomplete.
No, it's embeddedness.
Okay.
Mark Granoveter expanded on Polanyi by writing a seminal 1973 paper about the strength of these kinds of bonds, which he claimed were responsible for much of the embeddedness and structure of social networks.
Family.
Familial? Yeah.
No, these are weak ties.
Okay.
The presence of a three-way strong tie within a group is named in honor of this early German sociologist who wrote The Philosophy of Money and The Metropolis of Mental Life. George Simmel gets 10 points. Here is toss up 8. Yes. This ruler was attacked in a series of letters written by his secretary Megalius, who committed suicide rather than stand trial for treason. This king's conquests were recognized by the Peace of Phoenice after the war in which he sacked the city of Thermo and stole its treasure. He solidified his rule by concluding the Peace of Naupactus to end the Second Social War. To clear an indemnity of 1,000 silver talents and free his son from captivity, he joined the war against King Nabis. This ruler, who was frequently allied against by the Aetolian League, had his army destroyed in a battle by an uphill charge of elephants led by Quintius Flaminius.
Philip the Fifth.
That's correct.
Nice.
Mark Overmars and Chi Gap solved Clay's measure problem, which asks for the measure of union of multidimensional rectangles by using the disk data structure for 10 points each. Name this binary space partitioning data structure that allows one to efficiently perform nearest neighbor searches on a group of points in an arbitrary number of dimensions.
Not adjacency matrix or
What do you got?
adjacency matrix.
This is called a KD tree. KD trees are this type of tree in which every node has at most 2 children. The search type of them have an ordering enforced on their left and right children.
Binary.
Yeah. A KD tree allows for a nearest neighbor search to be done with this average type-bound big O runtime. Give your answer in terms of n, the number of points.
Okay.
What do you got?
Root n.
No, it's the log of n.
Okay.
This was on the 61 days.
Toss of 9. In a 1987 paper, Huang and Friedman established criteria for uniqueness of limit cycles in one model of these systems called the Gauss type. The total time is split into search time and handling time in a disk equation describing these systems. One model of these systems incorporates a Pauling type 2 functional response in one of the equations and a density-dependent term in the other equation. That model is named for Rosenzweig and MacArthur. These systems can be described by the equations x prime equals ax minus bxy and y prime equals cx minus y prime equals cxy minus dy. The solutions to those coupled differential equations can either drop to 0 or display oscillatory behavior.
Predator prey system.
Nice.
Your bonus. Governor Edward Ayer had the politician George William Gordon arrested and executed for his alleged role in this rebellion for 10 points each. Name this 1865 rebellion in which Paul Bogle led a group of 300 black peasants who marched on the namesake coastal village in Jamaica.
Port Moresby.
No, it's Morant Bay. In addition to Bogle and Gordon, Jamaica's national heroes include this founder of the Black Star Line and the Universal Negro Improvement Association. Yes. And the national hero of Jamaica is this leader of the People's National Party who fought for universal suffrage with Alexander Bustamante. He was chief minister of Jamaica from 1955 to 1959 after he became premier.
No, this is a Manly. It's had before Manly. It's had before Manly.
What do you got?
Manly.
Yeah.
Oh, it's his father.
Oh.
Here's good. Yeah, you're right.
So you got 20 points.
That's good.
Toss of 10. In one portion of this event, a man is given the hide of an African lion whose claws have been gilded with gold. Before this event begins, a character pours 2 bowls of wine, 2 bowls of fresh milk, and 2 bowls of hallowed blood and scatters crimson pebbles, which causes a huge shining snake to auspiciously appear from an altar. Gaius angrily throws Menoetes into the sea during part of this event, but also sees Sergestus run aground. During one part of this event, a man is given a Thracian mixing bowl when he shoots an arrow and it blazes like a shooting star. A man named Entellus wins a bull and then dashes its brains out with a single blow during this event. Nissus slips on some blood and manure during
It's the funerary games of Anchises.
That is correct.
Nice.
Nice. Here's your bonus. A poem in this collection called Confessions features a speaker who states how sad and bad and mad it was, but then how it was sweet, while reminiscing about an affair. For 10 points each, identify this poetry collection by Robert Browning named for its speakers. It includes Rabbi Ben Ezra and Abt Vogler and has a Latin title.
Oh,
Oh, I used to know this.
What do you got?
None of my mind.
No, it's Dramatis Personae.
Yeah.
A poem in Dramatis Personae is named for this character who meditates upon Setebos in a dramatic monologue. He's the son of Sycorax and the Tempest. Yeah. In another long monologue from Dramatis Personae, this character states, "Now don't stir, don't expose me just this once. This is the first and only time, I swear." This title character is based on Daniel Home, a seer who tried to trick the Brownings into having a seance for their dead unborn son.
oh my, oh. Mummy possessed.
It's Mr. Sludge, the
Shit, that is
medium.
what it's called.
20?
That is 10 points and halftime.
The half, I have 158.
Yes.
Because there's not been 4 times.
Toss of 11.
Squad goals.
Toss of 11. This thinker wrote, "The great enemy of communication is the illusion of it," and criticized the Great Free Enterprise Campaign in an article collected in his book, Is Anybody Listening? As part of a study, he hired his student Fred Kent and a group of volunteers from Hunter College to observe how often people had conversations of 2 minutes or more outside the Saks Fifth Avenue and how people ate lunch at Seagrove Plaza, which led him to conclude that what attracts people most is other people. He advises that you should repeat to yourself, "I love my father and my mother, but my father a little bit more," in an appendix to one of his books titled How to Cheat on Personality Tests. This editor of Fortune magazine and conductor of the Street Life Project is also known for coining the term groupthink. His best-known book describes how people conform in corporate settings because they assume their individual judgment to be less valuable. 10 points named this American sociologist who wrote The Organization Man. White. Yeah, 10 points.
Good
job.
Thanks, dude. Yeah. Good job.
Your bonus, answer the following about the Portuguese Age of Discovery. For 10 points each, this servant and shield-bearer of Henry the Navigator brought wild roses to prove that he had rounded Cape Bojador in 1434 in his second exhibition, which he had his second expedition, which he had promised he would do or die trying.
Alfonso.
Gil Inez, or Ines perhaps. According to tradition, Yehuda Cresques was invited to Henry's school at Sagres to work in this profession, whose other practitioners include Abraham Ortelius and Gerardus Mercator.
Like map making.
Yeah. Pope Calixtus III issued a bull by this name, which authorized the Portuguese king Alfonso V to sail and conquer the Saracens of Africa. A better-known papal bull by this name was issued by Pope Alexander VI in 1493 and served as the basis for the Treaty of Tordesillas.
So like intercateros? Intercateros?
No,
Intercatera.
it's fine, it's
I'm
fine.
sorry.
I didn't speak up.
You got 10
You
points.
should have split it up.
Which just means a bunch of stuff. Here's your toss of 12. The greens functions used in the Karinga-Kohn-Rostocker method possess this property. A potential with this property can be simplified by assuming the potential is spherically symmetric within a certain radius and constant elsewhere. That assumption is used in the alternate plane wave method and is the muffin.
Periodic.
Yeah.
Nice. Nice.
Your bonus. For 10 points each, name these philosophers who wrote about utopias. In a dialogue between a Genoese sea captain and a Knights Hospitaller grandmaster, this philosopher imagined a utopian theocracy in which a priest governs over a community structured around astrological principles. That work is the City of the Sun. Yeah. This German philosopher argued that art in the Western tradition should be read as reflections of the utopian ideal in The Spirit of Utopia, his first major work. A Marxist reading of it presented in his massive The Philosophy of Hope.
I'm pretty sure this is law.
That's all right, dude.
Holy shit.
The word utopia was coined in this philosopher's treatise, Utopia, which suggested that communal poverty and absolute social class maximizes leisure.
More.
Yeah, you got 30.
Nice.
Ernst Bloch making his appearance.
He's so good.
Here's toss of 13. This artist drew a pair of intertwined spiral rings to draw a study of an octagonal hat that resembles a torus. This illustrator often drew a vacuous or empty version of an object before following up with their solidus or solid counterparts in a group of works that illustrate the Platonic solids as elements, which culminates with a depiction of a 72-sided polyhedron. A manuscript discovered in 2006 called On the Game of Chess is thought to contain illustrations of chess pieces by this artist, since his mentor Luca Pacioli is the author of that work. Many of this artist's illustrations are collected presented in the Codex Arundel and the Codex Atlanticus, and scholars think that this man's portrait of a man drawn in red chalk is a self-portrait. This artist drew many pictures of tendons and muscles while studying under Andrea del Verrocchio. 10 points in this Italian art.
Nice. Oh, self-portrait red chalk.
I don't know this, but I
all his non-painting.
Here's your bonus. This author used multiple narrators in a novel in which Thomas Landman goes incognito after failing to assassinate his country's president using a car bomb for the organization. For 10 points each, name this South African author of an act of terror who fictionalized the life of a black slave named Cupido Cockroach in his novel Praying Mantis. His other novels include A Chain of Voices and A Dry White Season.
Brick.
In A Dry White Season, this character dies in police custody after his son Jonathan is arrested and killed by police. Ben Dutoit spends the novel investigating this man's death.
The only character I know is I have no idea.
All right, it's Gordon Goubenet. In Writing in a State of Siege, Andre Brink defends his decision to write in this language before translating. Yes. Wow. That was 20. Toss of 14. The founder of this group was accused of diverting its government funds to build a brothel and paying doctors to medically inspect the whores for venereal diseases. This group was organized through the efforts of economist Lachlan Curry by John King Fairbank, who obtained loans to finance this group as an assistant under Thomas Corcoran. It consisted of 3 divisions, the first of which was called Adam and Eve. The plan to create this group was put forth by its leader's press officer, Joseph Alsop, and approved after a lengthy debate at the Trident Conference to the dismay of a man known as Vinegar Joe, Joseph Stilwell. Members of this group were trained at a schoolhouse in Tongu and first saw action defending the Burma Road. This group, founded by Claire Lee Chanel.
Like the flying tigers.
Oh. Yeah, that's right.
Your bonus, answer some things about fiery club disasters not involving the band Great White for 10 points each. Because Holy Cross ruined the Sugar Bowl hopes of Boston College, its football players didn't attend a gala at this Boston club on the night of 1942, when it became the site of the deadliest nightclub fire in history.
Coconut Grove.
Correct. The Summerland disaster of 1971 occurred at a leisure center in Douglas, the capital of this island, which sits in the middle of the Irish Sea and has a triskelion on its flag.
Oh man.
Oh man.
Spraying Spanish moss with petroleum-based insecticide led to the Rhythm Club fire, also known as the Dance Hall Holocaust, in this city, which was wrecked by a great tornado in 1840. A historic forest trail known as the city's namesake Trace links it to Nashville, Tennessee.
Nice.
I wrote an awesome on that from last week.
Toss of 15. One novel written in this language follows the pure reader who listens to the stories of Tid Rar Das and other ex-writers who have renounced the written word. A man whose job is to lay cables is fired for making graphs depicting his colleagues' alcohol consumption in a satire in this language titled For a Certain City to the end of the line. This language...
Russian?
Good job.
Yeah.
You're Russian.
I read Moscow till the end of the line.
That's why you buzz, because you know stuff. Here's your bonus. 2 cysteine and 2 histidine residues linked to the namesake cluster of one type of this class of proteins named for John Riska. 10 points each. Name this class of proteins. Examples of them important in major biochemical pathways include aconitase and the ferredoxins. Yeah. Aconitase catalyzes the isomerization of this compound, which is formed from oxaloacetate and acetyl-CoA in the first step of the Krebs cycle.
Malate?
What you got?
Malate.
Citric acid. An iron sulfur cluster is the structure of this cofactor of bacterial nitrogenase, which is also called the M cluster. It is named for the 2 metals it contains.
Iron molybdenum.
I'll prompt you.
Okay. Iron.
It needs like numbers.
Okay. Fe3 plus molybdenum.
Okay, no. It's called FIMOCO.
Okay. Well,
So
that's what I said. Huh? I said Fe. But that's but you
So
said
there you go.
I know.
There's like, I don't know.
No, it
you
wasn't
get 10
correct.
points. You get 10 points.
Yeah. You didn't have the right answer.
Go.
Toss of 16. This man and Simon Cochin used the fin, twin, and spin postulates to prove that some elementary particles have free will if humans have free will. A positive definite quadratic form of an integer matrix will represent all positive integers if it represents the numbers up to the namesake number, according to this man's 15 theorem. This man invented a mathematical game in which players take turns naming positive integers that are not sums of multiples of previously named numbers. An algorithm developed by this scientist begins by calculating the anchor date of a century. It was inspired by the work of Lewis Carroll. Carroll. This man devised the doomsday algorithm to quickly compute the day of a week of given an arbitrary date. A so-called game developed by this man led Bill Gosper to create the Gosper gun, which is actually a pattern that
Conway.
Oh, that's right, okay.
John Conway.
Conway's game.
Here's your bonus. In a discussion about verse 8 of Psalm 101, the characters of peace and truth in this work suggest that it is a mystery of Satan as to why persons in New England plantations remain all members of the Church of England. For 10 points each, name this book published by the author of A Key to the Language of America, which argues that the garden of the church should be separate from the wilderness of the world. What you got? Okay, it's The Bloody Tenet of Persecution. This founder of the Providence Plantations, which became Rhode Island, pretty much argued for separation of church and state in The Bloody Tenet of Persecution. The Bloody Tenet of Persecution inspired Thomas Jefferson to describe a wall of separation between church and state in a letter to this city's Baptists. We got no, it's the Danbury Baptists.
Good job.
Let's do a little score check.
4 left, I have 230, 170.
Yes. Close game. Top 17. This city is home to a large complex of buildings called its Trade Fair, designed by Massimiliano Fuxas, which features a large vale covering its 1 million square meters. Three skyscrapers called the Straight One, the Twisted One, and the Curved One, designed by Zaha Hadid, Daniel Libeskind, and Arata Isozaki, were built as part of the city's ongoing City Life project. In 1877, Giuseppe Mengoni finished what is considered to be the world's oldest shopping mall in this city, the Galleria Vittorio Emanuele II. This city's Duomo features hundreds of Gargoyle statues and is the second largest Catholic cathedral in the world. A Giuseppe Piermarini designed building in this city was commissioned after the Teatro Regio Ducal burned down. That building in the city was severely damaged by World War II bombing, but reopened in 1946 with a Renata.
Oh, fuck!
Yeah, your bonus! When modeling these compounds as a random walk, their root mean square end-to-end distance is equal to the square root of the number of links times the link length. And points each name these compounds whose conformations can be modeled using the freely jointed chain or the freely rotating chain when there's no branching. Yeah. Because real polymers can exhibit heavy branching, the end-to-end distance cannot always be unambiguously defined. Instead, scientists use this quantity defined as the average distance of all monomers to the center of mass.
Molecular distance. I don't know. Molecular distance.
It's called the radius of gyration. Another issue with idealized chain models of polymers is the fact that two monomers cannot occupy the same space. To correct for this, the random walk model is replaced with this type of walk. What do you got?
I don't know, Marco.
It's called the self-avoiding walk.
Okay.
You got toss-up 18. This conflict was covered by the journalist Anthony Mascarenhas, who traced its beginnings to a speech calling for every house to turn into a fortress. One side split its military into units called K-Force, S-Force, and Z-Force, also known as the Tura Brigade. That force launched Operation Jackpot under a military council headed by General M.A.G. Osmani. An American diplomat responded to this conflict by controversially blasting his own government as morally bankrupt for not intervening, stating, "Our government has failed to denounce the suppression of democracy." That response is the Blood Telegram, named for Archer Kent Blood. The directive, "Kill 3 million of them, the rest will eat out of our hands," led to Operation Searchlight, in which towns were...
This is like the Pakistani suppression of the Bangladesh War of Independence.
Yeah. Here's your bonus. These figures would often compose patrament, a style of verse in which a question would be posed and two of them would give an answer that fits the poem's meter. For 10 points each, name these medieval poets such as Aymeric de Bellenvoix and Perrault, who composed courtly poetry in Occitan. Troubadours were often assisted by these French minstrels who often performed acrobatics and recited great songs about the deeds of heroes.
Jongleurs.
Yeah. These songs of heroic deeds were typically performed by jongleurs. They typically concern the matter of France, and examples include Fierabras and Coin of Bordeaux.
Chansons de geste.
Good job.
Toss up 19. One of this author's poems describes someone who strode and rode across the hills and broke them, and ends by using a line from George Meredith to describe how Matthew and Waldo embody the army of unalterable law. After reading Bertrand Russell's A Free Man's Worship, he wrote a poem whose title figure laughed like an irresponsible fetus and visited the place of Mr. Flaccus at Professor Channing Cheetah's. Another of his poems is set among the reaches of the street held in lunar synthesis and features street lamps delivering various lines, including Regard the Moon, La Lune, Negard, Hakun, Rankun. That poem ends with an image of the last twist of the knife. This author of Cousin... Yep, 10 points. Name these proprietary founders of colonies in the New World for 10 points each. After this man funded the failed Popham colony, he was given a grant with his friend John Mason, which they split at the Piscataqua River. Despite the fact that he had never set foot in North America, this man is called the father of English colonization, and he thusly founded the province of Maine.
Baldwin.
Baldwin.
It's the excellently named Sir Ferdinando Gorges. This man founded the debtors' colony of Georgia, which he defended in historic clashes like the Battle of Gully Hole Creek. The concession and agreement was a document that set up the colony of New Jersey, written by John Berkeley and a man by this last name, whose wife named the colony's capital Elizabethtown. That man, George, had a cousin Philip with this same last name, who was the first governor of New Jersey.
Bill Lowe.
Yep, it was Carteret.
What?
Carteret.
Sorry.
Carter, and then E.T. All right, last topic. An acid, a glycol, and one of these compounds is used in the industrial production of unsaturated polyester resins. One of these compounds is produced in the Tennessee Eastman process. Either an acid or one of these compounds reacts with cellulose to form a safer alternative to film-based cellulose nitrate. A phosphoric acid catalyst mediates the synthesis of aspirin from salicylic acid in one of these compounds. 1,3-DPG is an example of a mixed one of these compounds. A common dienophile in Diels alder reactions is a 5-membered ring known as the maleic one of these compounds.
Oh, shit.
That's one of there.
Yeah, that's right. Here's your bonus. As an organ professor at the Paris Conservatoire, this composer's pupils included Louis Vierne and Vincent Dandy. For 10 points each, named as composer of organ works such as Grand Piece Symphonique, who spent many years, this contemporary of France incorporated an organ in the final finale of his Third Symphony and composed the Carnival of the Animals. This French organ builder created Frank's organ. 30 points. All right. Last round, after which we will resolve any necessary tiebreakers as you may be involved in.
Where we're going to crush Oxford.
Here we are. How you guys done overall?
Better than expected. Oh, we have I lost in the playoffs so far.
Basel race calls out like the second.
It's a murderer's row. Like, there's a lot of good teams in this tournament. So
Yeah, pretty close. We're beating Maryland, MIT, and Yale.
very respectable showing.
Okay, let's do this so we can end this.
Maybe Minnesota didn't lie.
Okay, we lost in Minnesota.
Then we can recreate the area with the graphical gas.
I think good against one player.
There's going to be teams that. Jerry, how many people are there in the barrel of the graphical gas? There's
A whole bunch.
Yeah. So how many do we need to recreate the barrel of the graphical gas?
Like, we can do it with the top bracket.
Sure.
I have some spare people.
There will definitely be people who are.
I agree, but I'm very pro.
Yeah. We need a lot of
I call
women.
being some t-shirts.
What?
I call being the L-shaped rod.
Okay.
You are an L-shape.
I call being somebody's hand.
You have to. There's no.
I think I fit in pretty well as a hand in an Algrection I don't
Oh,
know,
Chicago beat Michigan.
but hand on heart.
Is that good?
It's good for them.
Neutral.
So who else do we need to pay? Huh? Yale? No, not. Who do we need to pay?
This is the last game.
Yeah, I'm trying to work out who we need to pay for
Pay cash money.
cash money.
Oh, Gallo was the heart.
Deep bench.
Now the records are looking more normal.
What do we? Oh, deep bench. We got deep bench afternoons from these guys. Yeah.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I really fucked up the movements of the Iowa's orchestral sets.
Sure, that was really
You know, Jacob,
It's like-
I'm
it's like-
trying to summon like sorrow and sympathy and pity for you, and somehow nothing's coming.
I negatively lost the game, man.
Can you get
Well,
that check off the game?
I'm
We'll wipe it
sad
out.
for you, but I'm not that sad.
Yeah.
I appreciate it, Spence.
So
I say that with love.
You have your check with Danny?
Maryland still
Yeah.
has to lose to
100 squids.
Maryland still has to lose to Michigan and Chicago, so we should end up with a record better than theirs.
Oh, so we might actually still place third.
That would be good.
What about,
We might be.
You're forgetting Stanford.
We beat Stanford.
But they're doing much better than us now.
Alright.
Well, you're about to lose to us.
Real.
Trash talk. Yeah.
So they have
If we
they
combine the
have
two
luck,
parts
they
of our
have
game,
lost
playing really well in the second half, and what we did in
They
the
have
last game,
lost
playing really well in the
Chicago
first half,
and,
that'd be good. Then we'll win playing.
We get 17 toss-ups to win this game.
yes.
Sometimes, I think we could probably try and
Well,
lose 17 toss-ups.
No, you can't do that. Even if you neg the other three and get no bonuses.